Welcome back to another episode of Not So Special Teams. My name is Caleb Rickers, and today we're going to be doing a mock draft. This mock draft will include trades, but let's get straight into it. With the first overall pick, I'm going to pick Fernando Mendoza. This is pretty clear cut. The Raiders need a QB. Fernando's the best QB in this draft. He won the Heisman this past year, won the national championship. He's a winner. He's a great QB prospect. Uh, Not the best we've seen in the past few years, but he's up there. Um, I think for number two, the Jets would want Arvell Reese. They want this chess piece on their defense. They need both linebacker and edge. They can be doing a lot of deceptive things with Arvell Reese, and I think he's a great chess piece for this defense. He'll do a lot for Aaron Glenn. Okay, three. I think the Cardinals have a great spot to trade down, and I think they want to tackle with this pick, but it seems a little bit early to grab a tackle. I wouldn't want to draft a tackle. Uh, Plus, this is the Cardinals thing where they like to trade down for a player that they like, but don't think it's acceptable to pick at that pick, or they can get more value. So, we're going to propose a trade here. Um, And we're going to trade with the Browns because they want to jump both the Titans and the Giants for their wide receiver. So we'll go the Browns, trade up the Cardinals. There. Yep. Okay. Okay, so the trade we picked out here is to get three. The Browns are going to trade 6, 24, and 206. There. Okay. Yep. And then with this pick, the Browns are going to go ahead and draft Kai Lemon, who's my favorite receiver in this draft. I think he can do everything. He sets up his routes really well. He's really strong after the catch. He runs straight through people. He's a good mix of Puka Nacua and JSN. And I'm not saying he's going to be at the level of those guys, but he just reminds me of both in the way he plays, both after the catch and before. So I think he's a great pick for the Browns there. With the fourth pick, the Titans could really use edge and they could really use wide receiver. They did trade for Jermaine Johnson to fill one of their edge needs, but they still need the other one pretty direly. I'm still gonna pick Carnell Tate with this pick. I just feel like um, if Makai Lemon's off the board, they're going to want Carnell Tate, who's a great deep threat. I think he's up there for the number one conversation in this draft for wide receivers. Uh, and then we get to the Giants pick, and the Giants need both a wide receiver, offensive tackle, and guard. I think I'm going to have the Giants taking Francis Mauigoa here. I think this fits what they need with them needing a right tackle. I think Mauigoa is the best tackle in this draft. So I like that pick for them. And then we get to the Cardinals here. And at 6, I feel like they're going to pick Jeremiah Love. It's too early to pick him at 3, but at 6, I feel like they could talk themselves into it with a lot of other running backs going like in this range in recent memory. So yeah, they trade back. They get Jeremiah Love with the 6th pick. And then we get to the Commanders who need tight end, edge, and cornerback. Um, I don't know. This is a difficult pick for me. They could also use linebacker, which I think, yeah, I'm going to talk myself into Sonny Styles with this pick. Okay, we get to the Saints. The Saints have a lot of needs. They need a left guard, nose tackle, and 3-4 D end. They could use a wide receiver, but off the board. I could talk myself into Caleb Banks with this pick. But I think in the end, I'm gonna pick Ruben Bain. I think he fits the 3-4 need so well. He fills that role really well. He's got the strength to play aggressive in the run game and hold his line. He's also a great pass rusher. I think he's perfect for them, and I could definitely see that being a great fit for the Saints. Now we get to the Chiefs, who need a cornerback really badly after they traded away their best guy to the Rams. And actually, I think I saw right before this McDuffie got paid, so good on the Rams for keeping him for I think it was 4 years. So that's good. But they need a cornerback. They're gonna go Mansour Delane. I'm assuming they had a plan when they traded away McDuffie, or at least considered that these cornerbacks are good enough to be drafted. So they would either draft one here, draft one at 29 with their new pick in the McDuffie trade. I'm gonna pick one here at 9 because you don't know how the board will fall. Okay. We get to the Bengals here. I think the Bengals see that Caleb Downs is on the board right now, and they can't help themselves. They really like Caleb Downs. They're gonna pick him. Okay. Um, Dolphins. Let's see it. Okay. Um, so the Dolphins could use edge rusher. They could use cornerback pretty badly. Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna take Jermod McCoy for the Dolphins. I just don't think they can run back the same secondary they had last year, especially from the cornerback position. They need some change, and I think Jermod McCoy is the best bet for that. Okay, the Cowboys are up. Linebacker and safety are the biggest needs that I have for them, and I would be so willing to take Dylan Thieneman here. However, David Bailey fell in this mock draft. And edge is on my board their third biggest need. I think they see David Bailey as a game changer, and they can't skip out on him there. So they pick David Bailey at 12, and we get to the Rams. The Rams could use a wide receiver for the future. Um, they could still use another cornerback because they lost a lot of depth, which I wouldn't hate taking Avion Terrell here. He fits their heavy zone system really well, so I'm actually gonna do that. Avion Terrell, and then with their two first round picks, they solidified their cornerbacks this year, trading with the Chiefs to get McDuffie and then drafting Avion Terrell at 13. I think their secondary is much improved from last year, and that was the only thing that really held them back in the playoffs. So I love that. Okay. The Raiders traded Max Crosby to the Ravens to pick up this 14th pick. The Raiders have so many needs, so I do like that they got this like first half of the first round pick here. I think their biggest need is edge, but I'm having trouble finding the edge to fill that role. See, I mean, losing Max Crosby is huge, but they weren't going to be a contender over the next few years, so they wouldn't be able to keep him in that window. So I do still approve of that trade. I think one of their other biggest needs is D tackles, and I love Caleb Banks. He didn't play at all this year, or he played a few games this year, but had a broken foot, and he was amazing last year. So I do love that pick for the Raiders. Now we go to the Bucks. I think the Bucks have a few needs. They could use linebacker, and CJ Allen's not a bad pick, considering that. Uh, but I don't know. I'm also considering Kenyon Sadiq. No, I'll pick CJ Allen. I think they really need to secure that that linebacker of the future, and they want to try and get younger on this defense. I think that's a big pick for them. Uh, then you get to the Jets here, who I think this is a spot where the Cardinals get aggressive with their new pick and they trade up to try and get in front of the Lions and get their pick of their right tackle. So Cardinals, yep, and the Jets. So we're gonna say they do 20, 24, and 65 is almost perfect to trade up here. So we do that. Submit the trade. Perfect. Yep. So yeah, David then just jumped the Lions to pick their guy here. I think, yeah, the Cardinals really need a right tackle, and I think Spencer Fano is a perfect pick for them. So they're gonna go here, pick Fano. They just wanted to make sure that they get their guy in case the Lions were trying to get Fano. And the Panthers could also pick a tackle. There's so many teams in between there that could use a tackle. So Spencer Fano's their if Spencer Fano is their guy, they're gonna trade up for him there. Okay. Now we're at the Lions, who I think they need a tackle. And Monroe Freeling's a great left tackle, which is a perfect fit for them. I think Spencer Fano's a better tackle, or prospect at least. Uh, so if they could get Fano, I think they'd be fine with switching things up with Sewell, switching sides, or switching Spencer Fano to the other side. But Monroe Freeling's a hell of a tackle too. He's very athletic, and I think they would love him because he's already in the position that they need. So, perfect pick there. Then we get to the Vikings pick, and I think they're in a tough spot because they need running back and nose tackle. Neither of those are on the board. The cornerbacks are a little bit thin here. And they could use a safety, so Dylan Thieneman is definitely an option. He's a free safety. But actually, I think I'm gonna pick Caden McDonald here. I'm not the biggest Caden McDonald fan, but as a nose tackle, he does his job pretty well. He has a really good anchor. He doesn't get moved in the run game. He played a small role in the past for Ohio State, but this year he really rose to the occasion, and played really well for the Buckeyes. And then number 19, at the Panthers pick, they need a linebacker, but there's not really anybody who could play the off-ball linebacker role. I think they also need an edge rusher in their system that's an outside linebacker edge rusher. I think Cassius Howe fits that role perfectly. I'm gonna pick him here at 19 for the Panthers. Then we get back to the Cowboys pick. Uh, at 20, they need linebacker and safety, and they fill with their edge need. So there are plenty of good safety options with Dylan Thieneman and Emmanuel McNeill-Warren. Yeah, I think I just have to pick Dylan Thieneman here. He showed out at the combine. He was great this year for Oregon and a pass for Oregon. He was great at Purdue. He's just had an amazing career playing both safety roles. Kind of can do it all. So I like that pick for them. Then we go to the Steelers, who could really use a wide receiver. Um, and I'm torn because Jordan Tyson would be such a great. No, I have to pick Jordan Tyson. Yeah, they wouldn't pick Denzel Boston in this with this pick because they already have DK Metcalf. They would kind of just be playing the same sacrificial X role. Uh, but you need that intermediate like guy. Jordan Tyson is that. The injury history is a little bit troubling, but you don't really worry about that when you have such a great wide receiver. So I think he'll turn out fine. Then we get to the Chargers pick, and they really need to fix this offensive line. I'm gonna pick Vega again. I just think he's the best guard prospect in this draft. You have to pick him here when you need guard, and he falls to your pick. The Eagles here, the Eagles need tight end. They could use free safety, but that's not really what Emmanuel McNeill-Warren is great at. He's a strong safety. They could, I don't know. They've been struggling with AJ Brown, and if they trade him, they would want Denzel Boston here. That'd be a great replacement. But I think they're going to pick Kenyon Sadiq to be that gadgety tight end, just difference maker on the team. I think this is a steal for the Eagles. And if he falls this far, I don't think the Eagles think twice about that. That's just he's such a great player and great athlete. Um, yeah, then we get to the Jets pick here at 24. Um, yeah, the Jets could use a cornerback and wide receiver still. So I think I'm gonna pick Denzel Boston here. I think Denzel Boston's a great pick for the Jets. I think he complements everything that Garrett Wilson does, and they just really need another receiver in that room. It's just Garrett Wilson. They've experimented with a bunch of like smaller trades to get guys and some guys that have fallen off of depth charts, but they really need a great number to fill that role. And I think Denzel Boston is that. Uh, and then you get to the Bears with the 25th pick. And the Bears could really use a safety. Uh, yeah, I mean, they could also use a D tackle, but I like Emmanuel McNeill-Warren over Peter Woods here, so I'm gonna take that. Um, Then we have the Bills, who had a huge wide receiver need, and then they traded for DJ Moore recently, so I think they're set there, and I don't think they would spend a first round pick on wide receiver after doing that. So I think they would consider all three of the edge rushers at the top of the board here. They could also use a strong safety, but Manuel McNeil Warren and Dylan Thieneman are both off the board. They could use a linebacker pretty badly, though. Linebackers here. I would pick Jake Golday or Jacob Rodriguez over everybody else on this list, but still, that feels like a reach here. And also, with the Bills having a lack of draft capital this draft because of their trade with DJ Moore, I think they would want to trade back here. So yeah, we're gonna say the Broncos trade back with the Bills here, or trade up the Bills here. The Broncos would do pick 30 and 94 for the Bills 26. And then the Broncos traded up here to try and get a receiver before they were all gone. Um, like between the 49ers and the Chiefs, I think the Broncos would be a little bit scared that their guy could be gone the next few picks. So they traded up here, and honestly, I think Omar Cooper Jr. is their guy. He's perfect for their system. He can block really well. He's he moves so well. I picked him in the last mock draft, but I don't think he's making it out of this round at all. He's in my top five, and I have him above Casey Concepcion, Chris Bell. I mean, I have him above all of those guys just because I think he does everything so well. And he's not a bad athlete. He's got great tempo. He runs routes well, um, and he's great after the catch. So I think he'll be a threat, and I think Sean Payton will see everything in his game and really love that player. Uh, and then you get here with the 49ers, and I would have loved Omar Cooper Jr. as well to the 49ers. Um, they could also use a D tackle. Yeah, I'm gonna take Peter Woods for them. Yeah, yeah, I will take Peter Woods for them. Yeah, they really didn't have great D tackles last year. They need to fix that room. And I feel like you'll have better luck finding a wide receiver in the second round than you will a D tackle in the second round. So you see Peter Woods on the board here, and I think you have to take him. But, and then you get to the Texans pick at 28. Um, the Texans need an offensive lineman, especially a left tackle or left guard. Um, let's see. Yeah, and there's a few tackles and guards on the board here. I think their best bet is Caleb Lomu. Yeah, Lomu is from Utah. He was Spencer Fano's other half, and they were really good tackles this year. Caleb Lomu's a left tackle, so he fits their need for left tackle. And he's a great developmental prospect as well. He's got great size. But let's move on. The Chiefs filled their cornerback need a little bit with that ninth pick. I think their next few needs are running back, D tackle, tight end. And honestly, I love Lee Hunter for them here. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Lee Hunter. I think he's perfect for their system, and honestly, I would have considered them and consider him at 9. Uh, but I think 29 is a much better or much easier decision to pick him for me. There's definitely a chance he will be here, and I think the Chiefs capitalize on that. He's a great run defender. He moves exceptionally well for his size, and I think he could even drop some weight to be even quicker. Um, but he needs to work on his pass rush plan and use his hands a little bit more when pass rushing. And then we get to the Bills. They traded back with the Broncos. And I think you could talk yourself into a linebacker after you got some more value. And honestly, I'm going to pick Jacob Rodriguez here. See, he's low on the board, but he was in the Heisman conversation for a reason. He truly was really that good this year. He had so many takeaways. He's a game changer. He led that Texas Tech defense with David Bailey, Lee Hunter. He's exceptionally smart. And whenever I watch him, I see the passing game part of Luke Kuechly because he like he controls the field in passing games. And then he forces a lot of turnovers. He gets some picks. He forces so many fumbles with his peanut punch, but he's not the run game Luke Kuechly, which is why he's not going top 10. Uh, he misses a lot of tackles. He's not super strong at like facing blockers. So he will drop down the board. But I think it's still a good pick here at 30. Uh, then we get to the Patriots pick, who could really use a wide receiver. Um, and I think with Casey Concepcion on the board, I don't think they really think about this. I think they're gonna pick him here. Um, they just lost Stephon Diggs, and they need a Z type receiver to fill that role. And kind of just their number one wide receiver. So I think Casey Concepcion moves exceptionally well. He's so quick, great athlete. I think he'll be a perfect fit for what the Patriots need this year, and someone they can just separate using athleticism. And then if he can develop into an even more technical route runner, love that. Um, then you get to the Seahawks here. And the Seahawks could use a guard or a cornerback, but I see there's plenty of cornerbacks on the board here. I'm not the biggest Brandon Cisse fan, but I do love Colton Hood, so I'm gonna pick Colton Hood here. Thank you guys for watching.